for Speed 2 was released in 1997 for the Sony PlayStation and PC. The PC version received a special edition that same year, which included 4 new cars. Back then, I believed that computer was something for adults, and I wouldn't have one until I grew up, started wearing business suit, and used words like investments, offshore, or I don't know, merger.
Alright, check out this bad boy. 12 megabytes of RAM, 500 megabyte hard drive, built-in spreadsheet capabilities, and a modem that transmits at over 28,000 BPS.
Wow, what are you gonna use it for?
Games and stuff.
Since I never started using those words and to pay tribute to the golden times when I spent summer evenings sitting on the floor in front of the TV with a joystick in hand, this review will focus specifically on the PlayStation version. Apologies for the pun, but Need for Speed 2 felt somewhat dualistic to me. It has all the ingredients of sorted racing game, yet each one seems to have a hint of disappointment mixed in. Let's dive in and see how it came to be. The game features 3 race types. Single race, nothing groundbreaking here, you pick your car, choose your competition, ranging from a single opponent to full grid or even no opponents at all, select the track and start the race. Tournament. The championship features 8 racers, including the player. You can complete the races in any order, with each of the 6 races limited to 4 laps. The tournament is considered complete once you have won all the races. Your reward for victory is 14 Giga bonus car. And Knockout, essentially an elimination race. It takes place on all tracks in the game, with each race consisting of 2 laps. The first race features 8 racers, and the last place finisher is eliminated after each round. By the 6th race, only 3 racers remain. The final showdown for the first place between the last 2 competitors take place on the bonus track, Monolithic Studios.
You crazy son of a bitch, you did.
Victory in Knockout unlocks this track for single races. This mod is somewhat less stressful as you don't need to win every race except for the final one, and since each race consists for only 2 laps, it plays out quicker and with more intensity. However, there is a catch: you cannot restart the race, so if you make a mistake or fall victim to the game's randomness and chaos, which we'll discuss further, you'll need to start the entire Knockout session over again. Unlike the first Need for Speed, where the controls were fairly realistic and the gameplay leaned more towards simulation, in the second installment it's clear that the focus shifted toward arcade-style racing. This is evident in everything, from the controls to the track design. The cars feel lighter and almost toy-like. As a result, the choice between arcade and simulation in the game setup seems pointless. Simulation in NFS 2 feels like an outdated feature that simply doesn't work within the context of the new game style. It's not just that tracks in the game resemble roller coasters more than proper race tracks. The real issue is that the simulation mode makes what is already a less than ideal and somewhat unresponsive control system outright uncontrollable. In this mode it's almost impossible to take turns without fearing that you'll slip into an uncontrollable drift. It's not even necessary to hit the brake. Just letting off the gas and lightly pressing the directional button is enough to start spinning out. On the other hand, the arcade style makes the control more bearable and the car more stable. Drifting is still hard to control, but it's possible. After getting the hang of it, taking turns in drifting becomes surprisingly enjoyable. The car physics leave much to be desired, and it feels more like a toy car with a jet engine strapped to it. Taking sharp turns, especially where there are elevation changes, requires surgical precision if you don't want the car to launch into the air performing wild acrobatics. It's quite fun and can even be amusing, as long as you're not desperately trying to win the race. The opponents race aggressively and fight for the win. They'll cut you off and attack, which can instantly drop you from the lead to the last place. Controlling this is tough. Sometimes they catch up to you as if they've been shot from a slingshot, while other times, after overtaking you, they fail to make a turn and flip over. Overall, chaos and randomness reign in the races. I've lost count of how many times I've lost control after an unfortunate collision, but I also won quite a few times simply because my opponents flipped over just before the finish line. Electronic Arts decided to drop the Road and Track magazine license this time and handle car manufacturing negotiations themselves. However, they kept the magazine style vibe intact. Almost every car in the game has a showcase video, where it races energetically to some upbeat music with decent editing and fast cuts. They also kept the voiceover narration detailed in the car, along with the slides featuring photos and detailed technical breakdown. The car lineup is impressive, featuring a collection of exotic high-performance sports cars and prototypes that I had never even heard before Need for Speed. For example, there is the recommendatory 112i and Ital-designed Cala, also known as Lamborghini Cala, were actually produced in a single prototype each. In addition to the impressive car selection, I'd also like to praise the game for its track variety. While all tracks are circuit-based, they are incredibly diverse in terms of ambience and difficulty, vibrant and filled with details. Unlike the first game, you can't choose the time of day here, but all the locations differ in terms of lighting and color schemes, so it's not really an issue. Additionally, it's now possible to leave the road and cut the corners. From a technical standpoint, there is a significant issue with the texture loading. The draw distance is too short, and very often the track loads right in front of you. This is definitely a downside that slightly undermines the beauty of the locations, but for me it wasn't a major issue. The music is once again top-notch, and it's hard to believe that these tracks were recorded specifically for the game, rather than released separately. There are a few compositions that I will definitely love to have in my Spotify library. It's once again a high-energy and highly eclectic mix of electronic music, guitar riffs, and various unique instruments. All tracks were recorded specifically for a particular course, and perfectly captures its aesthetic and ambience. For example, on the Mystic Peaks tracks, which takes us to the snowy mountains of Nepal, you can hear ethnic chants, bells, and cymbals intertwined with rhythmic electronic music. It's an absolute match between the audio and visual effects. Despite all the drawbacks and occasionally frustrating difficulty of the championship, I overall enjoyed the game and quite unexpectedly found myself coming back to certain races. Whether it was to zip through the absurd speed, dodging opponents, and hoping to successfully drift around the corner afterward, or to embrace the chaos and absurdity on the track, flying through the air of ramps, crashing into opponents, and causing all sorts of mayhem. Yes, this game is completely different beast compared to the first one, but in my opinion, it's still worth your attention, especially if you're not taking things too seriously. Now tell me about your experience with Need for Speed 2, what memories do you associate with this game? And if you have never played it, would you try it now? Thank you for your attention and see you next time.